It seems like creatives always get a bad rap.
From childlike tantrums and ridiculous green room requests, to strange superstitions, and even self-mutilation, it's clear that artists have plenty of strange habits.
But they've also made a pretty big impact on the world.
Hi, I'm Kate Rooney.
And I'm Jess Guffey.
And you're listening to Creatives Are the Worst, presented by Design Pickle, the leading flat-rate graphic design and creative services platform.
In this podcast, we'll be uncovering the fascinating myths and shocking stories behind the artists we love, or in some cases, love to hate, as we try to determine, are creatives the worst? Hello, and welcome to Creatives Are the Worst, presented by Design Pickle. I'm Jess Guffey, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Kate Rooney, on a Sunday. Hi, Kate.
Hello, good morning, Jess. How are you doing today?
Well, you know, it's freezing here, and I'm bundled in like 5 blankets right now, and a turtleneck. And by freezing, I mean 40 degrees, so.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're in Arizona, so your level of freezing is different from the rest of the world.
Yeah. Well.
But I'm also cold. I'm in, sweatpants. I have a heating pad on me just because I'm freezing. My hands are cold.
I do that all
My
the time.
extremities.
I don't know about you, Kate. You probably don't have this, but from living in an area that was, you know, abundant with snow for a long time of my life, when I get really cold, my fingertips and my toes like just go numb. It's just like permanent damage.
You might want to get that checked out, Jess.
No, it's pretty normal if you like have been in cold weather. My parents have it too. But yeah, like my ring finger on my right hand just goes completely numb.
It's kind of like a superpower in a way.
For what? If I get stabbed randomly?
Yeah, you can start poking people and you won't even feel it.
Great. Tell me a story, because we're just
let's
off
pretend
the
like
rails.
that conversation never happened. I'm so pumped to tell you this story today because this is a person that I've always really admired, but didn't know a ton about, and I feel like my view has changed. I'm going to try to hold off on that till the end because I want to hear what you think, Jess, but I mean, there are plenty of people, plenty of creatives in the world, creative women specifically, who are big enough to be recognized on just a first name basis. We were thinking like Madonna, Oprah, Beyonce, but there's another one who has really stood the test of time, and that is none other than Martha Stewart.
I can't wait to talk about her and Snoop Dogg.
Mm-hmm. Just clearly one of the most successful home mavens of all time. She's a lifestyle guru. I consider her to be like the original influencer. Even.
Yes. Ooh, I didn't even think about that. This is going to be good.
Her whole life and story is fascinating. And there's that whole other side of Martha, because you kind of think of her as like this homemaker, but there's this kind of dichotomy of Martha Stewart is like Martha the homemaker and gourmet chef and all this, but then also Martha the business mogul.
Yeah.
She most certainly is. She's been described as ruthless and savvy and cold. Like I said, I definitely have my own opinion of her. It might come through a little bit, but as with all of our episodes, everything we say is just our personal opinion and based off the research that we've conducted. But also, Martha Stewart was one of the first creatives for this podcast that really inspired me while researching.
Nice.
I would, in the middle of researching, I would like stop and in another doc take notes about creativity, business, brand building, because she has so many insights about it.
I love that we're doing someone that's outside the traditional creative space. She's like, I mean, we've done some people that are on the fringe of the typical creative route, but I feel like she's someone that encompasses so many different fields and like different types of creativity that I'm excited to talk about her, because she is different than just a straight up musician or artist or whatever like we've done in the past.
Yeah, and I would argue she's almost even more creative. That's one thing that kept popping up in all my research is like how insanely creative she is. And it's important to her, all about that personal touch and how to solve problems in creative ways and how to just like display creativity in your home and your cooking and everything. So today, we're going to talk about her rise to success, her certainly controversial insider trading scandal, and a real like kind of deep dive at her business and creative methodologies because she has a lot to say about that.
Oh, shoot.
And it's been so hard to pack in everything that she said because she is such a content creator. She has content everywhere across all these different channels and has done a ton of interviews. And so it's like, I wish I could have pulled every single quote that she's ever said because she has some fascinating ideas, but I kind of had to like pick and choose, but there is a lot. So
I'm excited.
Let's jump in to Martha Stewart's life. But
it.
First, I mean, do you have any memories of Martha Stewart?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of growing up or anything like that?
Totally. I mean, I feel like my mom would cook recipes from Martha exclusively for a while. And like, she was so hot for, I don't know what the years, we'll get to that. I'm sure you'll cover that. But
Sure.
I definitely remember her being on TV and like being everywhere and going to Macy's and seeing a Martha Stewart line and all of that good stuff. And then I remember when she got sent to jail and people were like, Martha Stewart is a criminal? Like I remember being a kid and being confused by that. So I'm excited to hear more.
We will touch on all of that. But first, so Martha Stewart was born Martha Costera in Jersey City, New Jersey in 1941. She was the second of 6 children in a huge Polish family.
Oh, Kate.
Yeah, as you know, Jess, I have Polish roots too, so I thought this was really interesting. But her family, I mean, they all grew up cooking, sewing, doing domestic things at home. Her mother taught her how to do all those domestic duties. Her grandparents, who were from Poland, taught her the process of like canning goods and how to preserve food. And her father had a passion for gardening. So kind of you see the start of all of these things that she learned at a young age and built an empire on. And it was said that her dad was very strict and he instilled the values of being self-sufficient and also perfectionism, which we'll see is a big thing for Martha Stewart. She's all about perfectionism, as many of our creatives are. So a little fun fact here, because I know you're such a sports fan, Jess.
Or as you call it, sports ball.
Sports ball. I know you love the sports balls. At age 10, she was a babysitter for some of the most famous New York Yankees, including Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, and Gil McDougald.
Oh, man. I don't know, Kate, fun fact for you, but if you ever want to like drop some knowledge in the sports ball variety on people, look up some Yogi Berra quotes. He has some fantastic quotes that apply to life, not just baseball. So that's your homework for after the episode.
Well, he probably got them from Martha Stewart.
Probably.
When she babysat him. Or wait, I guess it would be, yeah. And another fun fact, she began her career actually as a model. And before I even dive into her modeling career, I just want to say that she's had multiple careers across her lifetime, not even just this media mogul that we know her as. She's had lifetimes upon lifetimes, and she's very, very smart. She was beautiful. I mean, she is beautiful, and she was stunning. So she started modeling at age 15 and was featured in, she was in a Unilever commercial for Chanel.
Damn.
Yeah, so I'm going to send you right now just some pictures from her modeling days so you can get a sneak peek of her style, her look at the time.
If you were to like hold that up to me and ask me who that is, I would have no idea. She's, oh my gosh, and a cow in one of them. You know, I love cows.
She loves animals. She loves animals even to this day. I mean, she has plenty of properties, and on those properties she has a lot of animals, and that's part of her every day. It's been said that she even has like a special language that she uses to speak to animals.
She was stunning.
Right? Almost kind of like, I see that kind of 60s, I don't know, what is that?
It's a vibe, whatever it is.
It is a vibe. But modeling really paid for her college. Like I said, she was very intelligent. She ended up going to Barnard College in New York. And she originally wanted to study chemistry, which, right? That immediately made me want to gag just thinking about that. Instead, she double majored in history and architectural history.
Okay, interesting. Wouldn't have bet.
And she was modeling the whole time to pay for college, and so she's working, doing a double major, just hustling, and she will continue to do that throughout the rest of her life, without a doubt.
Seriously, though, Who knew she was someone that was so involved in so many different types of interests? I mean,
Well,
top to bottom.
yeah.
Including insider trading.
Well, speaking of that, after college, she started working as a stockbroker in 1967.
There it is.
No, this is not where the scandal happens. This is well before that. This is,
but she's getting the knowledge for when the scandal.
Oh, yeah. So this is where we really start to see her business sense shine through, and definitely her ambition. She's super, super ambitious. So this is in the 60s, and she's making six figures working on Wall Street.
Damn.
As a female, too. Because that was not the norm back then.
Go Martha. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. She worked on Wall Street until 1972. And at this time, she married her former husband, Andrew, and he had funded a publishing house. So that's a little important fact for the story later. But the couple moved to Westport, Connecticut. And this is where they purchased and restored the very famous 1805 farmhouse.
Okay.
So this became like a big project. They moved in to restore it. And this house would eventually become the model for the TV studio for her television show.
Okay.
But it became very apparent that she had this knack for restoring and decorating. She threw everything she had into restoring this home. She was quoted saying, "It was not until I left Wall Street that I discovered my true entrepreneurial bent. I loved ideas. I loved building. I loved creating. I loved making things that would enhance everyday living. And I loved making money as a result."
See, I think that just touches on, I mean, you and I have talked about this, and I think we've touched on it a little bit in the podcast, but creativity doesn't just mean being able to pick up a paintbrush or like being able to sing really well and write songs. Creativity can mean decorating really well or having a vision for something and turning it into reality. Like, there are a lot of ways to be creative, and I think she is the prime example of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like she said in that quote, she loves building. She loves creating. She wanted to like explore things and find new ways to do it and how to enhance life in different ways. And we often talk about the difference between creativity and artistry. Creativity is that something that everyone has is how do you solve problems in a unique way, whereas artistry is that technical aspect, how to hold a paintbrush, how to paint.
Totally.
And she has both, clearly. I mean, her artistry is in homemaking and how to create a better meal or create a better setting in your home. So
Totally.
At this point, so she's already working on the house, decorating, restoring it, but she also wanted to focus her energy on gourmet cooking, which of course a lot of us know her for. So she trained herself by reading Julia Child's book, Mastering the Art of French Cooking.
Oh, I didn't know she was self-trained. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So at this point, she starts her own catering business from her apartment called An Uncatered Affair.
Ooh,
and I love that name. I thought it was very saucy. And this was with her friend, Norma Collier. And this business became super successful very quickly because what they would do is they would cook these dinner parties for their clients. And so their clients would pretend that they had done it all themselves. So they'd have like these elaborate settings and beautiful food and invite your friends over. And it's
love
like,
that.
Ta-da! Well, things aren't always sunshine and flowers, you know, because things did turn south when her friend Norma and business partner Norma alleged that Martha was difficult to work with.
Oh boy.
Yeah, not a huge shocker, but employees accused her of being overly demanding, sometimes manipulative, and also it's been alleged that she was verbally abusive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Great.
So this is very different from her public persona, which is very warm and charming and welcoming.
Yeah.
But she obviously had a very, very acute eye for details and had very, very high standards. So we don't know. I mean, this has been alleged. She kind of has this persona. This just brings up like another bigger topic though, Jess, of like, would it be the same if she were a man though? Do you think she would have been called, overly demanding, difficult to work with? Or is it because she was a woman? I don't know.
That's a great point. And another point is we see this often where it's like the dual personality thing where people see a certain side of the creatives and then they're alleged behind the scenes. But you have to wonder, not how much of it is true, but how much of it is warranted and how much of it is a reflection of the people that they're surrounding themselves with versus like, you know, like not understanding why they're acting the way that they're acting versus like just actually being an asshole. That's what I'm really curious about. Like Bill Murray comes to mind, as does Disney for that, because it's like they have these public personas, but they're alleged to be really not great to work with or difficult or whatever you want to throw in there. But I don't know. It's more complex than it seems, I think.
Absolutely. Totally agree. I mean, if anything, it just seems very clear. She is a businesswoman. Like, she means business, and she is insanely successful. So maybe that's just a part of it. She has to be this way. She can't just be all lovey-dovey all the time.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, who knows? So because of all these issues or the problems with Norma and saying that she's difficult to work with, they eventually had a falling out and the business folded. Martha moved on to manage a gourmet food store called the Market Basket. Not as fun of a name, but...
What is that name? That's so stupid. Sorry, Market Basket people, if you still work there, but what?
Savage, Jess. Dang, it's not that bad of a name.
I just feel like if you're a gourmet food shop, you can do better than Market Basket. That's so dumb.
Well, they became pretty successful after Martha joined and started managing it because she brought her eye for detail and her fine taste, and it kind of exploded from there. And at the same time, she's developing her own catering business called Martha Stewart, Inc. And we see her very elegant menus in this catering company, and just the presentations for the meals would be just very creative, very detailed. But there was also a personal touch to everything, where she had all the ingredients were homegrown, organic, and stuff like that. Kind of farm to table style.
Love it.
So she's managing the terrible name, the Market Basket. She's also starting her own catering company. And at this time, her husband, Andrew, who I said before, he's a publisher. I had to include this name because it's so funny. But he is responsible for releasing the English language edition of The Secret Book of Gnomes, which was a Dutch book. But it became a huge hit and a New York Times bestseller.
The Secret Book of Gnomes?
The Secret of Gnomes.
Gnomes, gnomes.
Yeah, gnomes. Like the little garden gnomes.
Oh, I can't.
And their secrets.
I want to know their secrets now. Where can I buy this book?
Let's find out all the gnome secrets. What's your secret? Well, I keep all my secrets in my hat. This is not relevant to the story whatsoever. I just wanted to point out the name of the book because this was such a huge hit, and they were having like... Are you okay?
Your gnome voice just sent me.
More gnome secrets.
Why
we come alive when the moon rises.
Why is that what gnomes sound like?
I don't know. What else would a gnome sound like?
It's probably
They're
in the
little.
book. It's probably one of their secrets.
Okay, we're going to have another episode come out where we're just reading that book aloud, but in the gnome voice. It's a special episode.
It's so stupid. All right, I'm back.
Watch, it's like a super serious book.
Okay, all right, I'm back,
okay.
I think.
So, The Secret Book of Gnomes is a hit, of course.
Is that a spin-off of Secret Life of Bees?
Yes. It's definitely related.
I wish you never brought that up.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. I'm back.
Oh, Jess has the church giggles.
Yep.
So this book's a hit, and they contract Martha's catering company to cater the book release party, as one does. And at this catering company, she gets introduced to Alan Mirkin, who is head of Crown Publishing Group, and he is so impressed with her talents as being hostess, chef. Like, the food was amazing, the presentation was amazing, that he contacted her to develop a cookbook herself.
This whole episode is just making me really hungry.
I know. snacks. Have your snacks prepared. We should say that at the top of this episode. Before you start listening, grab your snacks.
Yeah.
You're gonna get hungry.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. So in 1982, she publishes her first book, Entertaining, and it features recipes and photos from all the parties she's hosted. It's very lavish. It also has like a decorating guide, and all the photos are from her Turkey Hill home. And like I said, like these just very intricate table settings, kind of her trademark aesthetic, which is like sophistication, but also with a touch of casual intimacy. So it's kind of warm.
Wow.
It's like anyone can achieve this, you know? It's like any home setting, but how to put things together so it looks very sophisticated.
You said anyone, I probably couldn't, but you know.
I'm just gonna put some paper napkins on the table.
Put like one flower in a vase. Yeah. Yeah, that's about as best as I can do.
Beautiful. Can't wait for your book to be released, Jess. Now, of course, this was a huge hit, totally catapulted her to success. She did her whole book tour, was doing speaking engagements, ton of television appearances. And following this, she released a ton of other books too. I don't want to list them all, but it was like Martha Stewart's hors d'oeuvres, Martha Stewart's pies and tarts, just like all these different themes. And appeared on Oprah, Larry King Live. Like she was just like all over the media at this time. Just after her first cookbook. In 1987, she signs a very lucrative contract with Kmart, of course, to be their...
I forgot about Kmart.
Right? I know. She was hired on to be their lifestyle consultant. And it really elevated the brand's image because, I mean, they were kind of seen as lower cost, whatever... I don't know, home products, but she launched an exclusive line of Martha Stewart home products. Like I said, just elevated Kmart to the next level. And she stayed in Kmart stores all the way to 2004. So she was there that entire time.
Dang.
It was said that she considered buying Kmart back in the 80s. She ended up not doing it. But can you imagine? I feel like Kmart would probably still be around if she ended up buying it because she's so
100%.
Business savvy and she's so attuned to what consumers want and what they need.
Totally.
Quick note here, because around this time, this is when she divorced her husband Andrew in 1990. And I didn't really add this much anywhere else, but they had a daughter together named Alexis. I'll kind of touch on her a little bit later, but I just want to note that. But regarding the divorce, she is pretty savage about her advice about marriage and divorce. And
boy.
I kind of love this quote that she told CNN where she said, "I had to sacrifice a marriage because of the lure of a great job, the fabulous workplace. But I don't regret it at all because what I've done is something bigger and better than just one marriage."
Oh, she went there.
She went there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for you, Martha.
It's pretty clear she was essentially married to her career and doesn't apologize for it whatsoever.
Hey, man, whatever you have to do.
So by the early 90s, she's already a household name. And this might be a little bit from what you remember, Jess, like your mom watching Martha Stewart or her, cooking from her cookbooks, because it was a household name. Like everyone had it. Everyone had her cookbooks. She was on TV. Wait, she wasn't on TV yet. Sorry, backtrack. But this is when she starts to kind of dive into that form of media. I definitely remember my mom, same. She had all the Martha Stewart cookbooks. And I think she also would host parties and reference her books. But despite her already, huge name at this point, she was not satisfied. She's never satisfied.
Never.
She wants more. So she signs a magazine deal with Time Inc. And this turns out to be her magazine, Martha Stewart Living. The very
Does that still exist?
I believe it does. Yeah. I mean, her brand is Martha Stewart Living. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it still exists. Also, another magazine that was definitely on our coffee table all the time. Quick note, I said Time Inc. I've also seen it as Time Warner and kind of interchangeable. So I'm sure there's a reason for that, but I just don't know why. But this magazine just had, super great insights from Kate Rooney. But this magazine had cooking recipes.
Cart facts.
Yeah, hashtag cart facts. cooking recipes, decoration inspo, craft ideas, homemaking guides, all those fun things. And the first issue, before it even like came out, had 250,000 subscribers. And
damn.
Yeah. And that quickly grew to over 2 million, like overnight. It was just like an instant success. And this also paved the way for other kind of celebrity-based magazines like Oprah Winfrey's O magazine and Rosie O'Donnell's Rosie, which I don't know if we want to even include her in that, but still, it happened. Yeah, kind of set the stage for all of these other powerful women to have their kind of lifestyle magazines come out.
Damn.
And because it was so popular, she ended up signing a 10-year contract with Time Inc. for the magazine and also the spin-off TV programs, videos, books that came from like the Martha Stewart Living brand name.
It's crazy.
One of the things that's really clear, we'll see time and time again, is just like her marketing mind, her prowess for marketing. She really understood the concept. I hate this word, but it's so true, of synergy, of like having her synergy. But really, though, it's
30,000 foot view.
Yeah, I mean, she has her face and name across all these different channels and media outlets. It's kind of like not just one product or service. It's stores, TV, books, magazines, like everything. There's
interesting part. Sorry, not to interrupt you, but I think about this a lot with what you and I do for Design Pickle. Is like oftentimes we're in a position where we have a big project and we have to connect the dots and figure out how it all relates to each other. Mm-hmm. And I feel like she's an expert at doing that with her brand.
Exactly.
Like you have all these different lines, but she's able to flawlessly connect them and make it cohesive and make it still live under one brand. Mm-hmm. And people are never confused that it's coming from Martha Stewart Living, 100%. Which is so cool.
She gets it. She understands it. It's not by mistake. It's not by accident that all of this fits together.
Totally.
So in 1993, this is where the Martha Stewart Living show appears on TV. And this was originally supposed to be a once-a-week, half-hour series. But once again, because it was so popular so fast, it expanded to being a daily show, an hour long, every day.
Wow.
And it became one of the most watched morning program shows in America at the time.
I wonder, this is just total speculation, but I wonder if you take that show and put it in today's time and like culture and environment, if it would be as successful, because I feel like people our age are not as interested in homemaking or crafts or making table settings or things like that. Like there are some, but I feel like with the amount of women in the workplace now and how normal that is, I wonder if it would be as successful nowadays.
Well, that's an excellent point. But I think, as we'll see with Martha Stewart, she's very resilient. So that worked at the time. But she's still very, very active today and very popular today.
Totally.
And some of what she's doing is like her focus has shifted to things that are more popular today. So agreed. I mean, she's kind of like moving with the times. And in the 90s, yeah, everyone, we said like, oh, this is huge. Our homes growing up, that's what was popular. Very different post 2020, but we'll come to find that she never lost her footing. So
doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Now, although she was the face of all this stuff, I mean, it was like the Martha Stewart Living show, she did not own the rights to all this. It was owned by Time Inc. / Time Warner, what have you.
Interesting.
But in 1997, she leveraged the profits from her Kmart deal to buy her magazine from Time Inc. for an estimated $75 million.
Jeez.
And this is where she founds her own company called Martha Stewart Living Omni Media.
Makes sense.
She became the chairman and CEO of this brand. And it is like a huge conglomerate. I mean, when you think of Omni Media, that's kind of like everything.
Yep.
And it really is, because it's the parent company of all of her projects, from publishing and merchandise, everything in between. And 2 years after this, she lists the company in New York Stock Exchange and went public. This caused quite a stir, but the stock prices for the brand totally skyrocketed. And because she owned 60% of the shares, she became a billionaire overnight. And she was the first female self-made billionaire in the United States.
I did not know that fact about her, but that, again, does not surprise me one iota.
Right? Like, I knew she was just like a mogul and all this stuff, but she's making history here. And it was all self-made. I mean, this was her brand. She started it just by having her own catering company and was just so talented and creative at it and had that business mindset. I mean, she worked on Wall Street and she worked very hard in college. So yeah, and in 2000 even, the brand reported of profits of over 21 million with annual sales of over 285 million, and it would just continue to grow over the years.
Those are astounding numbers when you think that she did that all on her own.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, she had a home in Connecticut, but when she grew up in her big old Polish family, I mean, they were very much working class, just kind of like normal lifestyle. So she's very much like I hate this phrase, but she pulled herself up by her bootstraps and got to work. And that shows. So,
Go Martha.
Who is the pickle's favorite artist?
I don't know.
It's Salvador Dili. Okay, that joke was the worst. But you know what's not the worst? Design Pickle's flat rate, unlimited creative services.
No, it is not the worst, with Adobe source files included, brand profiles, unlimited users, smart designer match. We could go on and on all day.
There's a reason why Design Pickle is ranked on the Inc. 5000 2 years in a row.
And you know what else isn't the worst? If you're listening to this podcast, you get $100 off your first month of any plan if you use the code WORST at checkout. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. Use checkout code WORST. It's WORST, all caps. And you can get $100 off any plan. So Essentials, our Pro plan, our Custom Illustrations plan. Start creating. It's awesome. And it's so fast. And we love it so much. And we're back. So let's set the scene for this next bit here. It's 2000. It's the new millennium. And as we've seen, Martha is killing it. She's savvy. She's worked on Wall Street. So it's no surprise that she's investing her money. Has a very diverse portfolio. And she owns stock in a biopharmaceutical company called ImClone, which is like a drug manufacturer for cancer patients. And in 2001, she just randomly sells all of her ImClone shares. 2 days, a little sus. 2 days later, ImClone's stock falls 16%. And that's after it was publicly announced that the FDA had not approved their latest cancer drug. And because she sold all of her shares, she avoided a loss of around $45,000, which is like probably nothing for her, but still.
If you're a billionaire,
right?
That's probably, yeah.
Uh-huh. So at this time, one of the ImClone founders, Dr. Samuel Waxall, he was arrested for advising friends and family to sell stock before the announcement. And while this is being investigated, it came to light that Martha had sold all of her stocks right beforehand. So like we said, super suspicious timing here. And because of that, Martha comes under federal investigation for insider stock trading. Just for listeners, insider trading is just where someone buys or sells stocks they have in a company using information that is not available to the public yet. And that's exactly what happened here. So at this point, Martha is just completely denying any wrongdoing, and claimed that she had an agreement with her broker to sell shares if they hit a certain price. But her broker's assistant claimed that he was told to tip her off. And it's pretty clear that that's what happened.
Oh, Martha.
Oh, man, Martha. And during all this time, she's still very much in the public eye.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, and because of that, drawing just heavy media scrutiny. During a regular cooking segment she was on CBS, the morning show, she gets grilled about this whole debacle. And while the reporter is grilling her, asking her all these questions, she just like continues to chop the cabbage and says, she responds, I love this. She responds, I want to focus on my salad. And that very like
the most Martha Stewart response.
I'm just thinking, because when you think of Martha Stewart, and she kind of has that like kind of calm, dry voice of like, I want to focus on my salad. It's focus on the task at hand here. So,
so funny.
In June 2003, she was indicted on 9 counts, including charges of security fraud and obstruction of justice.
That's why you don't lie, folks.
Yeah.
Truth always comes out.
But because all this is happening, she steps down as CEO and chairwoman of Martha Stewart Living Omni Media. She does stay on as chief creative officer because, I mean, her brand, she has the creative touch. But then in 2004, this is when the trial begins, amid a crazy media frenzy, of course. She refuses to testify, maintain her innocence still throughout all the proceedings. But it's pretty clear. I mean, again, she was on Wall Street before. She has a ton of experience as a stockbroker. So her whole argument of being like, oh, it's just, I didn't know about it. I didn't know about these trading regulations. It was pretty clear that that was not true. That's
what I meant when I said there it is when we found out that she was on Wall Street, because I actually didn't know that, but it makes so much more sense because none of that is by accident, which now that I say that out loud, you would think would signify to her that she shouldn't be doing something like that. Like, when you know the regulations as well as you do not have to work on Wall Street.
Especially, like we said before, $45,000, which is a lot of money for most people, certainly would be for me, but for Martha Stewart, who's a billionaire already, why? Why did you do that?
You just wonder, like, how you get to that decision. Is it pressure from other people? Was her broker pressuring her to do it? Like,
probably.
I wonder what gets people to that point, especially her. She's so methodical and smart about her decisions. It's like, that's not your character, Martha. I don't get it.
Come on, Martha. Of course, she was convicted on 4 counts of obstruction of justice and lying to investigators, and was sentenced to 5 months in prison, followed by 5 months of house arrest. Well, we all know. I mean, you said at the top of the episode, Jess, that you remember when she was charged or went to prison. I certainly remember that too. And there's a lot of jokes about it and stuff like that. It's kind of an interesting time. Without knowing the full backstory, it was like, immediately assume that she was just like, I don't know, she definitely deserved it and all this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
It's such an interesting dichotomy of, again, Martha the homemaker, this gourmet chef, and then Martha the prison inmate.
Just saying it out loud. It's, I mean, I remember as a kid specifically having trouble wrapping my head around it.
Totally.
Because public personas are that, strong and cemented into society like hers was at that time. You're like, wait, but no, this doesn't add up in any way.
No. A fun fact here, she did request to serve her prison time at a facility called FCI Danbury. And this is where Piper Kerman served her time. She's the author of Orange is the New Black, which became the show on Netflix.
Yeah.
She ended up not going there just because they knew it would kind of be like a media circus if she did. So instead, she had to serve her time at federal prison camp in Alderson, West Virginia, which is a very remote.
Terrible.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's a very remote location, kind of middle of nowhere. And it was speculated that the judge sent her there on purpose, like to make an example out of her. We don't really know. But so in October 2004, at 63 years old, she shows up and begins her sentence at this facility in West Virginia.
So obscure.
We don't have a ton of information about her time in prison. She hasn't spoken about it outright, other than just saying how horrible it was. In this quote here, she says, "The worst part about prison, the Dementors."
Oh.
That's not true. So that's a quote from The Office, which Jess still has not watched. But I'm sure 93% of our listeners would understand that reference.
Slap my hand. Yeah. I take full responsibility for it.
No, what she actually said was, it was horrifying, and no one should have to go through that kind of indignity, really, except for murderers. And there are a few other categories, but no one should have to go through that. It's a very, very awful thing.
Well, yeah. You should have thought about that.
I can't imagine it would be fun. No.
Should have thought about that, Martha.
Another prisoner shed some light on her time. And I don't know, again, how true this is, but this was suggested that Martha was singled out and humiliated by the staff. She was denied kitchen duty, which you would think would be like the one thing that she would love to do, and was instead assigned to cleaning the warden's toilets and stuff like that. Kind of denigrated that way.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Uh-huh. She told Vanity Fair at one point that her prison nickname was M. Diddy.
Oh,
fun fact.
Okay. All right.
And during her stay in this facility in December, she posted an update on her website to fans and insisted that she was doing fine. She said that she's had time to think, time to write, time to not eat the bad food. She was very adamant about how terrible the food was, saying that like the food was expired and all this stuff like that.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
you're eating gourmet food your whole life. Well, not your whole life, but for the past 20 years.
No.
Yeah.
She had to get creative with it. She would experimented with like microwave meals and find new ways to create like gourmet microwave meals in prison, and allegedly would pick apples from the prison grounds to make contraband jelly.
That's so sad.
It's so Martha Stewart. I love it. So once she is released after serving 5 months, she had to serve another 5 months under house arrest. And she did this at her winter home, quote, winter home, which is a 153-acre estate in New York. At the time, it was worth $16 million. So I think
sounds so
okay.
terrible to serve house arrest there.
I know. She had to wear her ankle monitor, of course, and she found it to be irritating and uncomfortable. And so she did her research on how to remove it.
Oh my God, Martha, come on.
She also said that she hated her time in home confinement more than prison, which I find hard to believe. That maybe that was taken out of context. I don't know. But regardless, even while she was in her house arrest, she did not stop hustling. She quickly snapped back to her whole mogul mode. Her brand, Martha Stewart Living, continued to grow. Her Kmart line expanded, and she had a huge comeback on television at the same time. While she's still under house arrest, she's producing new television shows. And
of course.
So she returns to her daytime television show with The Martha Stewart Show, but then also does a reboot of The Apprentice, which, of course, was a popular show at the time. And this was called The Apprentice Martha Stewart. Our good pal Donald Trump was a producer of the show. Like I said, it was a spin-off. It was a spin-off the original, but it centered on her areas of expertise. So media, culinary art, entertaining, crafts, all that jazz. And the winner was to receive a $250,000 a year job at Martha Stewart Living. So, like I said, it's like the same format and formula, but just injecting Martha Stewart's own brand identity into it. And from like the topics, but then also just like, instead of saying you're fired, when someone's fired, she would say goodbye, and then would write would write cordial letters to the candidates who were fired. So she added that kind of like homemaker personal touch to all of it. They filmed segments of this in her home where she was serving house arrest.
The Apprentice, but make it domestic.
Exactly. Oh man, but the show flopped and was not renewed for a second season. It was just this
kind of sounds pretty terrible.
Sure. But despite all of these legal issues, the brand just continued to flourish. She started more shows, wrote more books, dabbled in real estate. She launched this whole like line of houses in North Carolina, which apparently...
Wait, a line of houses?
Yeah. I actually wrote this in my notes.
What does that even mean?
Which is apparently a thing you can do. I don't know. I think that they were like manufactured homes, but like based off the Martha Stewart style and brand. Inspired
I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah. You mentioned Macy's before. This is where she launched her upscale line of housewares for Macy's. And this was the largest brand launch in Macy's history at the time.
Doesn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm. She had a partnership with Gallo Wines and produced a whole wine label called Martha Stewart Vintage and a frozen food label in Costco. Now, this isn't even all of it. That's just to name a few. She still had a ton of other partnerships and projects that she launched at this time.
That's crazy to think about the magnitude of that. I mean, one of those deals alone, people would be stoked on, but she has 25 million of them.
And not small names. Macy's, Gallo Wines, Costco. Are you kidding me? There was also, I mean, she had one with Home Depot, and just like every big name out there had a Martha Stewart product, it seemed like.
Damn, her agent is loaded.
Right? Well, she's loaded. So clearly, like, she's a very fascinating figure. And now we're getting into like more recent years, but it's clear that like her business sense is so fascinating, but so is her rise from the ashes, because she did not stop after. I feel like most people, if they had a huge insider trading scandal and had to go to prison, that would probably be like the end of their career, but not Martha.
Look at Aunt Becky. Wasn't insider trading, but she's not allowed back on the Hallmark Channel ever again. So
that whole thing, oh man. But she's still able to laugh about it. And one thing I found in all of my research is Martha Stewart is funny. She is so funny. She has a great sense of humor, which you might not expect. It's kind of like that dry sense of humor, but it's great.
She actually just went viral recently for one of her Instagram posts because she posted like a really funny caption making fun of influencers, and I'll have to find it.
I have that in my notes. She appeared on the Comedy Central roast of Justin Bieber. I don't know if you recall that. And she gave him tips to use when he inevitably ends up in prison.
Oh my God.
You mentioned
I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet.
Well, we'll see what happens in 2021. But at this roast, she allegedly got a secondhand high off of Snoop Dogg's smoke. He was there at the roast.
Dogg was going to be in here somewhere.
Yes. She said, Snoop must have smoked 10 giant fat blunts, and I inhaled all that smoke. I felt really good. I'd like to point out that she says she's like never smoked weed. Like that's not her thing. But
sure, Martha. Tell us.
Actually, she did smoke once with her husband, but then couldn't remember anything. She said, never again. But let's talk about her friendship with Snoop Dogg, because it is...
So happy you have this in here.
So awesome. It's so great. And so obviously they hung out at the Comedy Central roast, but they met in 2008 when Snoop appeared on her show, Martha Stewart show, doing like a cooking segment. I think it was like they were making mashed potatoes together. But immediately they had
so much.
Oh man, Snoop Dogg. Did you see his bit on the New Year's Eve thing with Anderson Cooper?
Yes.
You have to go back. It's so funny. It's so funny. All the different places that Snoop Dogg has gotten high at a bris, but not at the DMV. It's a hilarious bit, and Anderson Cooper looks like he's gonna keel over. He's laughing so hard.
I love him.
But Snoop Dogg and Martha, man, so he appears on the show and they immediately just have great chemistry. Just they hit it off. They just have great banter with one another. And they eventually team up to create their own show on VH1 called Martha and Snoop's Potluck Dinner Party.
I just don't even have words, because how confusing is that for like her original target demographic to see her with Snoop Dogg?
But we touched on this a moment ago where you said, well, it's so weird. Do you think her show would still be popular today with all this stuff? But like, she's so savvy that she knows what's trending. She knows what's going on with the times. It's not to say that her friendship is just like purely business. I mean, it seems like they really do have a genuine friendship, but she's like keeping up with the time. She knows what's cool. Oh, yeah. And Snoop Dogg is cool. She gets it. He will
always be cool.
And again, speaking of her being cool and up with the times, in 2014, she did an AMA on Reddit, which is Ask Me Anything, where certain people, figures, or celebrities can come on, and people on Reddit, which is like a forum, can ask them questions. Ask me anything, and they answer. So she does this AMA on Reddit, and it is amazing. I encourage everyone to go check it out, because she's very open, and again, like her humor shines through. But she's also like very blunt in her responses, which is great. People ask her for Martha Stewart for sex tips, and she said she advises to take a shower before and after, and be sure to brush your teeth.
Very good tips.
Yes, Martha. She was asked if she had any cool prison tats, and she said, I would never, ever deface my body with tattoos.
Oh, okay.
Her favorite singer is Pharrell. And it was asked if it was true that she paints over the soles of her Louboutins. And I don't know where this question came from, but apparently that was like a rumor that was floating around. And she said, it's true. One of my rules is not to be a slave to fashion. So...
But then why are you buying Louboutins in the first place? I didn't really...
I mean, I did not fully understand that. I clearly do not own any Louboutins, but is it just like because the quality is really good, but you don't want to show off the brand? Or
the quality is really good, but like if you're... I don't know. I feel like that's just a dumb thing to do. She could buy other brands that aren't as recognizable as a red sole.
Yeah, like Skechers.
Okay. Does she have a line with Skechers?
Probably. Honestly. I wouldn't be surprised.
Me either.
So we get into the year 2020 where, I don't know, it's kind of a crazy year, one would say. But it didn't hold Martha back at all. She's still creating so much content. I cannot get over the amount of content she creates on a daily basis. Like you said before, Jess, her Instagram game is on point. It is amazing. Her YouTube channel is massive and is still getting like a ton of followers and subscribers there. I think that this is the post you were referencing, but she went viral for her kind of like sexy quarantine coming out of the pool shot. Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah.
Yep.
Which she's what, like 78, and she looks...
she's 79. I was just going to say that. Like, she must either be that savvy, which is very likely, or surround herself with younger people, which is also likely, to be able to do that when you're 80 years old and like keep up with the times like she has. But it doesn't shock me about her because she's done that her entire career.
And she also, in this year, she launched a new gardening show on HGTV called Martha Knows Best. So we're talking about these older, like the Martha Stewart Living show, where it's about homemaking and stuff like that. In 2020, we have this pandemic. Everyone's lives kind of shift, and she adapts. She always adapts. So a lot of people are doing gardening now. She has experience in gardening. So she's going to create this new gardening show, inject her expertise, her knowledge, probably like, you know, she can leverage her more recent, like her friendship with Snoop Dogg and stuff like that and gain a new audience. And it's been a hit.
I could probably take some tips from her.
Right?
How not to kill plants 101.
Oh, that's why I just buy all plastic. That's my gardening tip. Buy fake plants. In 2020, she also partnered with a cannabis company called Canopy Growth and launched a whole line of gourmet CBD products. This is not very different from like marijuana, that kind of weed. Cannabis.
It's not THC.
Thank you.
Which is marijuana.
Not THC. It's
CBD.
So it's all about like wellness, but this line has like wellness gummies and oil drops, but they're all like very gourmet, and she has flavors like kumquat, blood orange, and huckleberry. Like that.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
I know. They actually look really good, and it's supposed to like be calming and whatnot.
Yeah.
So with all of this, I've said this over and over again, she's clearly a very savvy woman. And in 2019, her net worth was approximately $620 million. She's self-made. She's very proud of her success.
As she should be.
Absolutely. Earlier, I mentioned her daughter, but Martha Stewart has been very open that she's never really been able to separate work and home life. She's just like in that constant grind. It definitely affected her marriage. And her daughter, Alexis, wrote a book about her mother.
Why are all these kids out here dragging their creative parents?
I know.
What? Let them live.
Well, I mean, if you think about it too, it sounds like they kind of had a kind of a rough relationship in the beginning when Alexis was growing up, or a more complicated relationship. And now that they're older, they're a lot closer. Alexis is very protective of her mom and her brand. But it's almost like, hey, man, if you're going to grow up with Martha Stewart as your mom and kind of like you're almost set up to be a perfectionist, and it was kind of rocky because her mom was all about work, and It was said that she had like a very hands-off approach to motherhood. So maybe this is like her way of coping with it. I don't know. But it was said, I love this quote. Alexis said, "I grew up with a glue gun pointed at my head." So that kind of gives you a hint into what it was like growing up. Like I said, like they had a rough go in the beginning, but now they have a better relationship. that's all kind of off topic because what I really want to talk about is this book that Martha published called The Martha Rules, with the subtitle of 10 Essentials for Achieving Success. Because she's so creative and she's like fantastic chef, hostess, all of that fun stuff. But she's obviously like, she really understands how to grow a business and how to build a brand. And when she explains it, when she gives advice, it's very actionable advice. This is what I was talking about when I was like, I was writing things down like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to share this with the Design Pickle team because this is excellent advice. So I kind of want to paraphrase some of these 10 essentials for achieving success because it's incredibly insightful and handy information to have. So if you are trying to grow your business, grab a notepad and a pen because here are some hard facts or some helpful tips. So first off, find and follow the big ideas.
Love it.
Which is really like, take a look at your own problems and frustrations, which we see a lot of entrepreneurs do. They're trying to solve their own problem and then find that and then put your focus and creativity in that. So she's very big on that.
That's how Design Pickle was founded.
Exactly. Yep. Also, take calculated risks. She's a huge risk taker, clearly, but in very calculated way. So I loved this quote that she had where business is all about risk, assessing risk, managing risk. Prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, and intellectually, and you will be able to differentiate a long shot from a good, well-calculated risk.
Love it.
I love this one. Another essential is understand the value of good design. Because
Did you write that one?
Yeah. So, because she understands that consumers want and love beautiful, well-crafted solutions. Like they don't,
so true.
In the world where everything's kind of like cheaply manufactured and stuff, like really value good design when it comes to your product or services.
We always say that about packaging. We're suckers for good packaging.
And it definitely makes you stand out from competition.
Yup.
This one is kind of look at everything with a telescope, a microscope, and a wide angle lens. And what she means by that is all successful executives should be able to change their focus from like big picture to small details on a regular basis. You're not just like,
I love that.
If you're only looking at one, you're going to miss the other stuff. So you have to be able to shift your lens every day for success.
That makes total sense.
The next one is build an A team. So this makes me think of when you said, wow, she must like surround herself with young people and people who are savvy and her agent, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, because that's one of her tenets of success is you need to seek out and hire employees who have talent, energy, optimism, and generosity, all these things she lists out of what an A team would require and make sure that you hire those people and keep them on your team.
Yeah.
Next up is find opportunities and challenges. Basically, what do you do with lemons? You make lemonade.
Damn right.
Yep. I mean, just like with her whole prison stint, she didn't let that bog her down. Like she could have just, faded away from the limelight there, but she didn't. She says to always be in control and don't panic because there's always something else coming on the horizon. Next up is quality first, which kind of ties into good design, but Martha states that it's important to instill this within company culture right away. So embracing quality at every level. You should never sacrifice quality when faced with challenges. It should be a focus. It should come first. And she stated that quality doesn't have to be only for the wealthy. You can still have high quality products and services for the larger community. So also, Jess, you'll love this one. Smart, cost-effective PR. So she's been saying that you should approach marketing with creativity and common sense and always find ways to convey to potential customers of all the good things that you're doing. So PR, of course, finding ways to do that in a cost-effective way, which when she was first starting out and doing her catering business, she put her name out there. She would write into magazines, newspapers about herself. And that's like how she got her name out and started buzzing. So she's definitely very PR savvy. But the important thing about that is letting potential customers know about all the good things you're doing always.
Amen.
Now, I love this next one a ton too. I mean, I love all of these, but next up is learn by teaching others. And she's huge on this. She thinks it's so valuable to share your knowledge with customers. It'll help you build a deeper connection. And she repeats this phrase called inspire and inform, which is basically you're setting up the stage for someone. So maybe it's like you have a picture of a table setting and very aspirational, like people want that. But then you have to teach others how to achieve it. And that's how you get new customers in the door. But you can't teach stuff unless you learn it. So she's very big on learning something new every day, which is something that we talk a lot about at Design Pickle, is learn something new every day, but then always tell other people about it.
Yep.
If you just learn something, it's kind of useless. Like you want to share that with other people. It helps you grow and helps other people grow.
And say it 7 times.
Exactly. We're going to repeat all of these.
Pickle motto.
We're going to repeat all of these 7 times. It's going to be a long episode.
We're just going to loop this episode so that it plays 7 times.
Oh, and lastly, pursue your passion. She is a very passionate person, as we know, and she's said there's no single recipe for success, but there's one essential ingredient, and that is passion. So
snaps to that.
Snaps all around. Go, Martha. So those are her 10 essentials for success. Any thoughts on those, Jess?
I mean, they're all perfect. Like, I can't argue with any of them. You can take them, and like you said, they're super actionable. You can apply them to any type of business, I think. She didn't just focus on lifestyle or cooking or whatever. You can take them and apply them across the board, which is major key.
Yeah, this book was really for entrepreneurs and people who are starting a business or trying to grow a business. Literally, while reading all of this and researching it, I was writing down notes of like, oh, that's a good idea for Design Pickle, of literally product ideas and stuff about how can we improve the quality of this and whatnot. So it really got me to thinking, and
I'm sure other people will be thinking after they listen to this as well.
Hopefully. Or they're just going to be thinking about how dumb we sound.
Or they're just going to drink some orange juice and go to bed.
Take some of our CBD gummies, the orange flavored ones, and take a nap.
Yep.
So despite all this, she still kind of has that reputation of being cold and hoity-toity. I actually wrote down that word.
Hoity-toity. What a great phrase. No idea, but my mom used to call people that all the time back in the day.
Hoity-toity.
Hoity-toity.
I feel like that comes from Newsies or something. What? Regardless, she's still very much admired by fans and people in the industry. And I feel like one word to really define her is resilience. I mean, she is self-made and she's had plenty of setbacks, but it never stopped her. And if anything, it just made her more popular and drove her to grow more and keep working. She is a hustler. I didn't even have time to fit this in, but she said that she only sleeps 4 hours and wakes up before the roosters. And
what?
She was asked, like, what do you do if you get sick? And she's just kind of like, what? I don't get sick. Basically saying, like, that's a waste of time. Why would you get sick? As if you have a choice over it.
Mind over matter, I guess.
Sure.
I don't know.
She's certainly a risk taker, without a doubt. And New York Magazine called her the definitive American woman of our time and a living trademark.
A living trademark. Love it.
Which she is. I mean, Martha Stewart is the brand. And author Mark Lehner said that she's a combination of Amazonian strength, Olympian omnipotence, and Emersonian self-reliance.
Wow.
Soon, she's going to branch into nuclear weaponry, cold fusion, and voodoo. It's going to be amazing to see what she will do next, honestly, because, like I said, she's
seriously though
branched into new things, even just in the past year. So with that, Jess, I just have one important question for you. Is Martha the worst?
I don't think there's a world that I could ever call her the worst. I think the whole time I was thinking about Joanna Gaines, Chip and Joanna Gaines, and like she really gave them a platform, and all of these other influencers that are now making millions off their own lifestyle brands and like have deals with Target and all this stuff. Like she created that whole roadmap for people. And it's not to say they just ripped it off from her. I mean, obviously these people are talented as well, but she kind of carved out this niche in lifestyle and home goods and doing all this stuff so that people can be successful at it. And even on TikTok, like there are people that do home improvement stuff that were no doubt inspired by her.
100%.
Is she cold? Probably. Like she's that successful. I think you have to have an air of a wall up or, you know, just keeping people at a distance for obvious reasons. But I don't think that makes her the worst. I think it makes her a businesswoman that has fought tooth and nail to get to where she is, and she doesn't want to risk letting that go. So I don't think she's the worst. I think she has revolutionized influencers and lifestyle stuff. So
definitely. Yeah, agreed. I mean, I went into this already with a very positive view of her. I didn't know about the rest of her life and everything, and kind of had that image of, we talked about before, with like our moms were Martha Stewart fans, but coming to learn that, yes, she's super creative, she's a homemaker, but my word, she is an inspirational force. She is a hustler, she's a grinder, and she... being called cold and callous and all that stuff, it's, like you said, probably true, but doesn't change my view. If anything, I'm like, admire her more because she has that grit. She has major grit. Actually, and
she did it all herself.
Yeah, and she has street cred. She's got street cred now.
Yeah. She got secondhand high off Snoop Dogg. Like, it's the number one street cred you could ever get.
Right. Oh, Martha. Thank you for everything, Martha. You are a trailblazer, and keep killing it on Instagram, man. I love it. Love to see it. Love to see it.
I actually looked up her Instagram while we were recording, and she has a very funny recent post about pears that I would encourage you to read.
What does it say?
Laugh. Oh, let me pull it up. It says... She has 2 accounts, by the way. One is like her personal account, and one is the Martha Stewart brand,
nice. Yeah.
which is interesting. Oops, forgot to pick the pears. Oh well, next year. And it's just a photo of her with the pears.
Oh, we love you, Martha.
There's that dry sense of humor.
Let's be friends.
Seriously. Martha, DM us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And anyone else can DM us at podcastdesignpickle.com. Love to hear your Martha Stewart stories. Let us know if you think she's the worst. I mean, maybe we're just biased with this, but I love me some Martha, but I'm sure there are other people who feel differently. Just let us know at podcastdesignpickle.com, and be sure to subscribe to the show if you haven't already. Tell your friends. Follow us on the social medias.
And if you are a Design Pickle customer that happens to listen to our podcast, reach out. Let us know. We'd love to send you a little gift from the Creatives Are the Worst brand. So let us know at podcast@designpickle.com.
Heck yes. All right, Jess, it's Sunday. It's time to go
signing off.
Stress out about Monday.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Creatives Are the Worst.
If you like what you're hearing, or if you think that we're the worst, please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. We'd love to hear from you.
You can also contact us directly at podcasts@designpickle.com, and a big thanks to Design Pickle for sponsoring the show.
Join us next week as we once again try to answer the question, are creatives the worst?